My name is Chris Weidman. I'm a mixed martial art fighter. I fight in the UFC and I'm a middleweight champion.
Come on, sec. How did your life change since you won the title?
It's changed in a lot of ways.
It's in my life.
My life has changed in a lot of ways. I say the biggest change is that my house was completely devastated by Hurricane Sandy, and that fight allowed me to buy a new house in a better neighborhood, live with my family by ourselves without other family members, and so it's definitely been a big blessing in that way. On the other hand, we also, I'm more popular, more people recognize me, and things like that.
Okay, cool. Being a champion was overachieving. Was that something that you always connected with and felt?
When I was a child, my goal was to be an NHL hockey player. I always wanted to be the best in hockey, but I ended up being in 7th grade. My family couldn't afford for ice hockey, so I ended up getting into football and wrestling and what else? Basketball, different sports like that. But I was never an overachiever in school. Definitely not an overachiever. But in sports is one thing where I always challenge myself, and I want to be the best around. So.
Is that okay, Larry? Okay, cool. All right. How do you get involved in mixed martial arts? Repeat the question, please.
I was a wrestler my whole life. I'll start over. I was a wrestler my whole life, and there was not much in the future as far as making money for your family in wrestling. So there's a lot of wrestlers around that were doing really well in the UFC and making a good living for them and their families. And I kind of wanted to change. I tried out for the 2008 Olympics, ended up getting hurt before the trials. And it was either, do I keep training and doing world trials in between going to the 2012 Olympics, or try this mixed martial arts stuff that I felt like I was kind of destined to do from the get-go, because I grew up kind of fighting. I always felt like the fighting was kind of in me. I always, if I wasn't beating someone in wrestling, I was wondering if I could beat them in a fight. And so it was my opportunity to really participate at, which I think is probably the ultimate competition a man could go through, is mixed martial arts.
Oh,
my mouth's dry. My mouth's dry.
Uh-oh.
My mouth's been dry the whole seminar. I don't know what the hell's going on.
That's what all the alcoholics say in the beginning, bro.
They have it in their back pocket.
That's why.
Yeah.
You want to give it a plug now.
I know.
Yeah.
Did he really want us to plug that? Is that why he brought it?
Yeah, it's a homebrew. So.
But he's trying to sell it or no?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
So, so when was the first time that you remember kind of, sort of, being introduced to MMA?
The first time I remember really watching MMA and kind of getting a little understanding of what it was and that I'd be interested in it was watching Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner on the Ultimate Fighter finale. I watched a little bit of the show, but I was so focused on wrestling at the time that was my main thing. But when I started watching that, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And when I saw that fight, I'm like, holy smokes, these guys are tough, and I thought I was tough. And I was like, these guys look tougher than me. So I wanted to go and prove that I could be that tough. And that's kind of when I started gearing in my head that I could do this and this could be something for me.
How did you feel the evolution from wrestling to jiu-jitsu? How did that kind of fall in place, like in terms of Henzo and all that kind of stuff?
The first time I was exposed to jiu-jitsu was I was teaching a couple of fighters their wrestling, helping them out with their wrestling. So they came down to Haas University, and after I was done showing them wrestling, they wanted to show me some jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, I wasn't really interested. I wasn't really into it. But they ended up showing me a couple moves, and I thought it was cool. But after the 2008 Olympics, I dove in, I I actually went into the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Matt Serra's academy, put the gi on, and did 3 months of beginner Jiu-Jitsu, pretty much. And I fell in love with it. I'm like, this is awesome. I was doing really good. I was submitting really good guys. And I ended up testing myself. I went to a Grappler's Quest, which is, a regional tournament that has, a lot of good guys. I went to the Absolute Division, which is every weight class combined. I also did my weight class. I ended up winning both my weight class and Absolute and I beat everybody by submission. There was 13 guys, all by submission. And I won my first money I ever won in my life. I've been competing forever, never won money. And I won $1,000. I won a championship belt. I won some sponsorship clothes money, and I never had money in my life. And I'm just like, wow, I could do this every month and I can make a living off this. And I'm like, this is great. And that was really, I think, which propelled me to telling myself, I'm gonna work harder than anybody else in the room at this, and I know it could be great for me.
How important was it for you to be an Olympic gold medalist? How important was that in your life? And how did that affect that you didn't become an Olympic gold medalist? Was that something that was driving force to it? You know, was it deep in your soul?
Yeah. Being an Olympic gold medalist was definitely.
You say being
being an Olympic gold medalist was definitely one of my goals, one of my dreams. But looking back, I don't think it really meant as much to me as it should have. I wasn't the hardest working guy in the room. I was one of the guys who were probably more talented than most, but wasn't really putting the work in with the talent. So that's what kind of, when I got into MMA, I told myself, if I have any regrets from my wrestling career, it's that I wasn't being the hardest working guy and I wasn't making the most of my talents and making the most of my potential. And so when I got into mixed martial arts, that's the only thing that really changed inside of me, was I was gonna be the hardest worker every single day. And that changed everything. That changed my mindset, changed the way I believe and how bad I want it. Gave me the confidence to believe I could be the best in the world and that no one else deserves it more than me. And so there's nothing without the hard work. There's nothing that I could achieve without that. All right, so.
What were you saying at the end of that last time?
I was saying, is a champion born or is a champion made? I think it's a tough question. I think people need to have certain capabilities and certain potential to get into a sport. So if we're talking about champion of a sport, you need to be born a champion. You need to have the capabilities. You need to have strength. You need to have the cardio. You need to have at least the potential to get that to a level where you could beat other world-class athletes, but not without hard work and dedication and a true passion for it. Will it ever happen? It doesn't matter what type of talents you have. So you could be born a champion in anything if it's not a sport. So you could be born a champion if you want to be a champion politician or a champion, whatever you believe in and whatever you have a passion for. You could be the best in it. But as far as a sport, you need certain gifts to get you to the top.
Tell me about your experience as a child, where you was raised, how you was raised. Like, give me some feedback on who you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, rolling in action.
All right. So I'm from Long Island, New York. Born, raised, never left. All my family's from the New York area. My parents, my mother's side had some family from Jersey, and she was from Jersey, but obviously she migrated over to New York. I have a lot of pride where I'm from. I'm from Baldwin, New York. It's about 10 minutes away from Queens, 10, 15 minutes from Queens. I grew up in a decently tough neighborhood. I grew up, getting bullied and fighting a lot. My brother was probably one of the toughest kids from my neighborhood, and he didn't make it easy on me. He made sure I was getting beat up as much as possible growing up. If he wasn't beating me up, he was making his friends beat me up. I mean, he threw a 10-pound weight on my head because I wouldn't get him a cookie. Split my forehead open, pretty good. And one time I was in the woods doing bike jumps. I went off the side of a double, did a flip, landed on my shoulder, broke my collarbone totally clean off. And my brother, he didn't believe it was broken, so he made all of his friends line up and punch me in the arm and told me I'd be crying if it was truly broken. And then so after I got punched in every arm, it was the worst thing I ever went through. I mean, punched by everybody. I ended up having to walk home with my bike by myself in one arm. And if you've ever had a broken collarbone, it's literally the worst pain ever. Every little vibration hurts. So I ended up walking home and just sitting there until my mom got home, a bunch of hours. She got home from work. And then she knew there was obviously a problem, went to the hospital. But those are just, small, just very few memories of what I've been through in my life and things that I've had to, get through. And I think any type of setback you have or any type of tough time you got, getting through is what makes you who you are and makes you a tougher person. And I think, do we have to stop with that?
No, keep going.
Okay.
Just go back like 2 seconds.
Whatever makes you a tougher person. And I think whatever you've been through in your life makes you a tougher person. And so I'm very grateful for the background I have and every tough situation I've been through because it's made me who I am.
Chris, how badly was you bullied as a child? Was you severely bullied? Give me some feedback on your bullying experiences and repeat the question, please.
I was severely bullied. I didn't really even think of it as bullying, even up until maybe a year or two ago when I gave an anti-bullying speech and I realized, holy crap, I was really badly bullied. Because I kind of just looked past it and just realized, it was just one of those things I went through and I didn't really think about it too much. But now looking back, I realized I was extremely bullied. There was days I had to stay home from school because I knew I was going to get really bullied bad. And I remember my brother bringing all the kids that wanted to beat me up to my house. It was Freshman Friday, which is the day where freshmen, get beat up a little bit. And I was going to get the worst of the worst. So they came to my house. I was locked in. I pretended I was sick from school. And they knocked in my door, my bedroom door, and beat the crap out of me, punching me in the face, stomping on me, spit at me, wedgie. I mean, as bad as you get, pretty much beat up without, you know, I don't know, going to the hospital bed. So yeah, that was, and then there's just a lot of situations like that where, you know, I remember one time my brother and cousin, I don't know if this is truly bullying, but it was one of those things that stuck with me. They pulled me up. They threw over a tree, a rope, and at the end of the rope was this piece of like a log almost. And so they got me to sit on the log, and they were going to pull me from the other side of the branch and pull it up to the top and get me to the top of this tree, real high tree. And so as soon as I got to the top, about to grab that branch, they let go, and I was just all the way down. I mean, landed. I couldn't breathe. I mean, I was just, obviously the wind was knocked out of me. Not good, not good.
Chris, did you just say that you was hospitalized because of bullying? You was hospitalized?
Oh, I guess so, yeah. If you consider my brother throwing a weight on my head and I had to go to the hospital, hospitalized, yeah. Yeah, I've been in the hospital lots of times for that.
Look at the camera. Okay, so your brother had a history of kind of abusing and beating you up a little bit, kind of thing?
Yes.
Can you repeat that question and kind of go into it?
Yeah, my brother definitely had a history of beating me up and abusing me. You know, he was a badass dude. He was a type of kid who you either loved or you hated. If he had your back, you didn't have to worry about a thing. If you had an issue with somebody, he was going to be there and have your back. But fortunately for me, he didn't have my back a lot growing up. He made sure I guess he didn't like me that much. So he beat the living crap out of me and made other people beat me up. He would have his friends just punch me in the face, and I would stand there and get punched in the face. You know, a lot of things. And then you got the mental abuse from it, which is pretty tough too. It's not just the physical. I know I learned with anti-bullying, you know, it's not just these people who are being physically abused, turned upside down, and their change is falling out of their pockets. It's the kids that are walking down the hallway, you know, the cool kids in class are making fun of them and making them feel like, you know, they're losers and they're not as good as them. Is pretty much the biggest problem that we see. I think that really people hurt over. A lot of suicides over it and different things like that. So that's probably the biggest thing is, you know, talking behind people's backs, stuff like that. You want me to go back into me being bullied?
Yeah, where is Sarah? Yeah.
Huh?
What's your advice?
Yeah. All right, my advice to people who are getting bullied is, you know, hang in there. You know, it's not easy. You have to realize inside of you that these people are doing it to you because they're insecure with themselves, number one. You know, and just find, first of all, if it's happening to you and you're getting bullied physically, make sure that you find someone to help you out. You know, tell your parents. Don't be afraid to tell people. You need to tell people. You can't let it happen forever. You need to find something that gives you confidence. If you have nothing that gives you confidence right now, I think that's why martial arts are so important. You know, you get into, you know, jiu-jitsu, you get into your wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, whatever it is. Not only are you going to learn how to defend yourself, you're going to be able to learn to have confidence and discipline and to realize these things I'm trying to tell you is that these people are a lot more insecure than even you. You know, and they have strength in numbers, so they're going to feel like they're cool because they have people around them. But don't worry, you're not alone. Where do I see myself 10, 15 years from now? I'm not really sure. You know, I think that's up to God and God's plan. The only thing I really have control over every day is to work as hard as I possibly can, have faith, and just love the people around me. Be a good father, be a good husband. Try to do the right thing as much as possible. And as far as a career-wise, 10, 15 years from now, I see myself, I'm going to be opening up a gym soon in Long Island. And so I see myself teaching other people how to do mixed martial arts and different aspects of it, and helping people stay in shape and get in shape. So I'm probably going to be involved with something like that. When you become the top of anything, and there's people out there to listen, I think you have the responsibility, to give back and help people. And I think most people that get to the top, they know that, they understand that, because it takes a certain amount of humility, I think, to get there. You've been humbled so many times that you've been through setbacks. And so once you're finally got to the top, you can't just forget about everybody else, the different stages of your life that you already been through, and helping other people through those stages. And so I think it's not just me in particular as a champion that should be helping other people, but anybody in any sport or any environment where people are looking at them as a role model, they have the responsibility to help people. The rematch with Anderson Silva, in my mind, it's just a fight against myself, just like every one of my fights. But this fight in particular, there's a lot of naysayers out there, a lot of doubters, just like a lot of my other fights. But this one, I really just want to go out there and shine. I want to separate myself in skill from every other fighter in the middleweight division. I want to put on a show in this fight where anybody who's watching just knows, wow, he deserves to be champion, and he's better than anybody else in the division. And so that's my goal, is really just to separate myself from everybody else and let everybody know that I'm going to be here for a long time, and I'm not giving that belt up very easily. I think the biggest part of any sport on the top level is having your head on straight and really understanding how to have the mindset of a winner. And I think the most important thing to understand is that, number one, there's always going to be doubters around you. There's always going to be people who don't think that you could win, and that you could use that as fuel. It gets to a point where that doesn't even become a big deal. What other people think, it's not even a big deal. But the only thing that matters in you is your doubts and the way you use them, and use them to help you. The truth is that everybody has doubts. There's not one person who's so confident they don't have doubts. It's the person that's able to understand that it's part of human nature to have those doubts, and how to how to overpower them with your good thoughts. So it's all about winning that self-talk inside your brain that goes on every single day, before training, during training, after training, before you go to bed, when you wake up. Every single day you're talking to yourself, are you really that good? Are you not that good? Like, it's gonna go back and forth. But you have to win that battle, and the only way to win that battle of self-talk is to be the hardest working guy. And once you win that, once you're able to be the hardest working guy in the room, you start winning that self-talk, and that's how you have true confidence. And that's how you take out the aspect of fighting, or aspect of any sport, of choking or mentally defeating yourself. Things like that are probably the most common ways to lose. And the only way to beat that is to have truly a good work ethic and try to beat everybody in the room every day. You can't expect to go, if you're not winning in the room every day and being the hardest worker in the room every day, to go out and just have a great night. That might happen, coming up on the scale. It might happen in fights where you probably should lose, and you go out there and overperform. Now you got people telling you that you're a gamer, you're not really a practice guy. That's going to catch up to you. The truth is, you have to start winning in practice before you start winning when everybody's watching. Live to fight, the slogan is, some live to fight, others fight to live. And it's a great slogan that obviously, as a fighter, I'm living to fight. It's just one of those things that I decided to do in my life, to challenge myself, and also challenge myself against other people. But then you look outside of the sport, and you have people who are truly fighting to live, and it kind of just minimizes everything that's going on in your life and all the struggles that fighters go through, which a lot of people think are really tough, which they are. But compared to a person who's going through something like cancer, it's just minuscule, it's nothing. And to understand that, and understand what people are going through with cancer, also helps you realize the big picture as a fighter, and makes everything just, you put a lot less pressure on yourself. And it's easier to walk in that cage knowing that people are fighting for their lives every single day.